A lot has changed in the past year. You quit SLB a few months back. I want to break down everything that's happened over that past year since our last episode. Why did you quit SLB?
That's a really good question. And I've had 4 months to come up with a really great answer. It's...
Massiel, welcome back to another episode, round 3 now.
3.
Okay. It's funny, we were just talking about this 1 year ago. I think just under a year ago, we recorded our first podcast together. I think that one episode probably doubled our audience and we got hundreds of thousands of views. And really, I think looking back, it was a huge turning point for the show. And just hearing all about your story, your journey working at SLB. But a lot has changed in the past year. You obviously quit SLB a few months back. So I want to break down just everything that's happened over that past year since our last episode. Why did you quit SLB?
That's a really good question. And I've had 4 months to come up with a really great answer. It's interesting you say about the episode that you and I did about a year ago. Yeah. And I would say if you go back and watch that episode, you could probably see it and feel it in my energy that this was coming. You know, like I was pretty much at the decision-making point already where like I knew that I wanted to leave. It was more a matter of what was the right timing? Was I really ready for this? Was this one of those crazy ideas or was it really something that I wanted? So I would say like when I do look back at that podcast, I'm like, man, I gave so many little golden nuggets that
you're dropping in.
If people, read it, go watch it today, they'll be like, oh yeah, she's definitely quitting. I guess to answer the question, it was a very difficult decision. Obviously, I was there for 13 years, straight out of college. And I would say from day one of being in that company, I thought I was going to spend the next 30 years there. I wanted to become an executive. I wanted to make my mark within the company. And I really feel like the way my career went over the last 13 years, I knew that if I continued to work really hard, I could do something great in the company. Like there was no doubt with that. It was more, I would say, all of 2024, I just started having doubt about, am I in the right place? Am I on the right path? Is this really what like I want my entire life to be? You know, that was my identity for so long. And I felt like I was just on a path, climbing the corporate ladder, thinking that it was going to lead me to quote unquote success and happiness. Yeah. But I think the further along I went, I realized it's not who I am. Like it's never been me. But I think so many of us when we're young, we graduate college, we go work for a company, and then we're taught that like you stay there for 20 to 30 years and you try to become somebody in the company. But I think this generation started to kind of break out of those old habits of why do we have to follow those rules? Like why do we have to do what our parents did and like retire when we're 65 and all these different things. So I feel like I started slowly kind of creeping in and looking at outside of it and really realized, I think in 24, that I was on the wrong path. And the reason I felt like I was on the wrong path was because in the last role that I got, which was a really good job to come back to the headquarters and I worked with all the executives, etc. I just kind of started looking around and thinking, if I stay here and I do really well for the next 10 to 15 years, this is where it leads me. Like this is the pinnacle of success considered in that company, was being one of them. Yeah. And I guess I was just like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't think I want to do that. Like, and that means I still have 10 to 15 more years to do all of this to get there. Yeah. And honestly, it's not an insult to them. Like, I think they're genuinely awesome people. They're happy with their lives and this is success to them, but it wasn't success to me. Yeah. So I think I just kind of had to look at myself in the mirror and realize you better get off the path, because there's a really good saying that if you're on the wrong train and you know it, and you don't get off at the next stop, the ticket to go back home is going to be very expensive. And so I think that happens to a lot of people where they just fall onto that train. And I saw it so much with peers, with people that I know, that work in different companies, is they stay on the wrong path, and their whole life they don't take the risk to get off and really explore. Like, am I really on the right train? And I think I saw it a lot when I was leaving at the end, and I got to do coffee with a lot of friends and mentors and people that have been there for 20, 30 years or 15 years. And the biggest thing that made me realize that I made the right choice was when they would say, I wish I did that at your age. I wish I took a risk. I wish my circumstances were different, and I also can take a risk. And so in a weird way, it was like little regrets from people who just didn't try anything out in life because they were just following and chugging along this path that they've been on since they were 21, 22 years old. And so I think for me, I saw it as, let's take a risk. People probably thought I was crazy because I had a really good career ahead. Like, I knew that I had a great career ahead, but I just felt like I would regret it. And I kind of said that on the last podcast. I said, like, if you don't do what you want to do, you're going to regret it. And I didn't want regret in my life. And I also think people think it's so scary to quit your job and, switch careers, or maybe, just completely re-identify who you are and reinvent that. But it's not as scary as it looks. And I think we like overanalyze it in our head, because I kept thinking, like, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, I quit my job. I go try out midnight. It doesn't work. What's the worst that can happen? I can go knock on their door again in the future and say, can I get a job? Or I can go literally knock on every other door of, companies that I know because I have a great network. And then I'll just be an engineer again, or I'll just be in communications again, or whatever it is that to do. So I think sometimes people really are so scared of taking this risk because it's like, oh, I quit my job. I've been there for 15 years. I've been there for 10 years. And it's like, it's not that bad. No. So take the risk, and life's too short, I think, to not be 100% set on the path that you're in. And if you have a little inkling of doubt, or if you feel like you want to explore what life is about outside of this, I'd say just try it out, because it's not that bad. You can go back.
What did it feel like in that moment when you made the decision?
So interestingly enough, over the last 13 years, I had threatened to quit like multiple 3 times. And in those moments where I was going to leave, I did not feel good. Like, I was sad, I was crying. I felt like I was making a mistake if I did actually leave. This time around, I was so happy. And I felt like there was no weight on my shoulders, and I knew I made the right decision. There was like no doubt in my mind that this was the best thing for me. So I think when I look back at all the other times that I tried to leave and I just didn't, I don't think I was ready to leave, because I still deep down felt like that was my path. If not, I wouldn't be crying thinking that I'm going to quit, and like scared to leave. This time around, it was like sunshine and rainbows were coming out when I left the office. It was just like, oh my God, I'm free. Like, I was just so happy I was just happy to look forward to like this new life that I really wanted to try out. And so, yeah.
And since leaving SLB, obviously hundreds of thousands of people work at SLB. Going from that to joining a startup, Midnight, where there's, it's not hundreds of thousands of people. We're still a pretty young company, maybe like 50 to 100. What has that jump been like, going from this huge company to joining a startup?
So, interestingly enough, I feel like there are so many similarities, believe it or not. I think big companies have their own chaos, and there's fires and literally shit shows every single day. We just have different resources to handle those. So I think it really trained me really well to go into a startup where you have to wear multiple hats, and there's fires every day that you have to handle. And I feel like I dealt with all of that at SLB through every aspect of my career, whether you're in the field, customers are mad because you're late, because you have the wrong tools, because you messed up their log, because of their well. There's just so many things that were always happening. And I think what I learned is customer service is like, the client's always right, how to do well by them quick. You have to be quick. You have to be agile. Speed was so big for us in the field, and even just in SLB, et cetera, to have good customer service. And then I would say, like, I was trained to work 100-hour weeks since I was 22 years old. And so I think I bring that same attitude that's needed for a startup, because complacency and like comfort zone, and that's where people go to die at Schlumberger.
Yeah.
Is like they just hide behind a computer and like you could spend there 20 years. But for me, I was always still that. I was an employee, but I was an entrepreneur within the company. I was always bringing up new ideas and I wanted to be everywhere.
Yeah.
I was doing not just my job, I was always volunteering to do other jobs. And so I felt like I wore multiple hats. But I think it's really deep down, like I feel like I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and work with a small team where we're creating an impact and it's fun. It's like you're a part of a team and we're all like we all have the same mission, you know? So I think I just genuinely am so happy because I feel like I have like a greater purpose than what I was doing before for like a $64 billion company
You
get another.
You can see the
you know?
impact in a much smaller team and scale, just like day to day. Everything you do has a huge impact.
Yeah.
And just from since you've come on in like, I don't know how, like almost 6 months.
4 months now. And it feels like I've been here forever. 4 months.
Just the amount of new business that you've brought in, obviously.
Yeah.
Things have moved very fast. And I think the curve is heading up just from the huge network you have and experience within the industry.
Yeah, I think what's really cool about a startup, or like I really encourage people to try out a smaller company or, you know, come work at a startup, is mainly because when you work for a big corporation, at the end of the day, you just have to do what the shareholders want. So it's very, very hard to get an idea, bring it up to the table, execute on it.
Yeah.
It just won't happen. You know, they've got a goal and it's make shareholders rich, like, and the Wall Street people. So I think what's cool about a smaller company is you can bring innovation, you can bring different technologies and different, you know, hey, we want to do a podcast. Like in any company, they would just look at you and be like, okay, go back to work. Like we've got bigger goals to do. And so I think it's been fun that you can be bringing creativity and really like you could steer the ship of a smaller company, which is why I think a lot of really great smaller mid-sized companies do really well, because all of the creative people and the entrepreneurs within the big companies leave and then they go and execute on a smaller scale. So I encourage everybody to try it out. It's fun.
And you mentioned like the work ethic of being an engineer, working like being on 24/7, like you're working. I know we spoke about this in our last episode, but like being always on 24/7 whilst you're working out, like there's millions and millions of dollars on the line every hour. So how has it been working, like taking the shift? Not only I know you went from engineering to sales, but now, although you are in sales, there's also the marketing side as well. How do you take all of those skills that you learned, like high pressure, millions of dollars on the line, working wireline, like in a remote place in the middle of nowhere, to, you know, working on a marketing campaign?
Yeah, honestly, they're very similar. The stakes are high on both ends. And I think it's even stronger because the clients, this is their brand. Like this is their face, their look and feel online. And so I think, being a wireline field engineer, millions of dollars at stake. But honestly, with like marketing and with the campaigns that we do, I would kind of put it up there with how much responsibility you have. And I think coming from the sales side, which we'll get into sales a little bit, but you know, I did 4 years at Extreme selling and doing sales now at Midnight. I think one thing that maybe is just like ingrained in me, but if the client writes me, it could be at like 3 a.m. Like it's just in my DNA that I need to respond right away. That may be good and not good. That's just who I am. Quick, responsive. And I think too, because I am the one selling the service, or I'm selling you into the company, just like I sold you products at SLB. I feel like there's some sort of responsibility on my end to make sure that you're happy, you know, versus just selling and they're like, okay, good luck, you know, have fun. You know, I treat it very differently. And I think we kind of got into it as well as I usually have friendship with a lot of the customers because I genuinely like have friends who are customers. And so I think like there's always that fine line too, where I want to make sure that everything's good with them and I want to make sure that they're taken care of. And so I think that's why on the work ethic is similar to SLB, where I'm on 24/7. I probably shouldn't. You know, we talk about balance all the time, but it's just who I am. Like, I'll never really take a vacation. I'll like always bring my laptop or I'll bring my phone. And I do think it's good to disconnect. And I think as a leader, it's good that you do that so that your team members, you know, don't emulate who you are.
Yeah.
But I just like the grind. I don't know. I like the hustle.
I guess it's hard to untrain after working to that extent, like 100-hour weeks as an engineer. It's hard to, well, everything you do becomes a habit. So it's hard
it's a habit.
It's hard to untrain habits, I guess.
And I think it's the same for you though, because you're always on. I think we're texting each other on like Sundays, like Saturdays. We're like thinking campaign ideas.
Yeah, I guess that's also the danger with marketing is like the marketing brain.
It won't stop.
Never switches
I know, it
off.
bothers me so much. I'm like, can I stop thinking for a second?
You mentioned sales. So you spent 4 years working for Extreme, selling. You like the number one sales rep. What do you think made you so good at sales? Because I've recently started trying to learn from you of like, how the hell do I think we spoke about earlier, there's a lot of similarities between marketing and sales. Like marketing, everyone always says marketing is storytelling. And I think sales also is storytelling. You're finding a problem and coming up with a solution and showing your prospect the transformation they can come, just like you do for a campaign. But I want to dig deep into like how can you become a great salesperson?
That's a good question. I think for me, being a good salesperson is really just being a good people person.
Yeah.
You need to have just good charisma. You need to communicate really well. And also you need to feel like they can trust you. Like that trust needs to be there. Because people, if I reflect back, I'm like, why would people buy from me when they could buy from other people, the similar products, etc. And I think it goes back down to they maybe genuinely just liked me as a person. And this industry in the oil and gas space is so relationship based. Yeah. So, and we talk a lot about it. It's very heavy on relationship based. It's not just like who takes you out to golf, but like who do you truly have like a friendship with? That's gonna weigh where you're gonna do your business. So I think for me, it was always just building a good ground with them, becoming friends with them. And I think it's easier to sell to people that like I genuinely liked and that I wanted to like get to know, etc., and actually build a friendship out of it. And then it's easy to sell because then they trust you already. And they know that you're going to have your back. They know that they can pick up the phone and you're going to respond. So also the speed in that initial relationship of getting back to their emails, picking up their phone calls, texting, they really do feel like, okay, she's got my back. I trust her. I'll do business with her, And I think that was what really built up the Extreme side. Because honestly, I had no experience in selling and I had no experience in that technology. Like I never shot, wireline guns. I never sold perforating products, but I think it came on that genuine side and trust aspect and friendship as well.
But when you're starting out, obviously you have to face a lot of rejection, and a huge part of sales is hearing no's. Without any loss of motivation, you just have to keep going, which I've recently discovered. So how do you handle that like rejection and people they're just going to say no? And like, how do you do that without losing any motivation?
Yeah, I think it's because I've never really taken myself too seriously, and rejection maybe has just been normal for me. I moved around a lot when I was younger, like a lot of different schools and high schools between Montreal and Toronto and just different areas. So I think like building friends and like being in different clubs, etc., and like getting those early on no's as a kid really made it easier for me like later on, where I'm like, honestly, like a no doesn't faze me. If anything, and I think we had talked about it, I get more excited. I'm like, okay, the challenge is on, let's do it. But yes, it is difficult to get no's because then you start doubting yourself, like why, but I think really good salespeople just go knock on every single door and you have to stay hungry until you get a yes. And then those yeses are worth so much that you forget about all the 20 no's that, they make up a lot. But I will be very transparent on the fact that I think being a female in oil and gas and selling, I got a lot less no's than probably a dude would. And so I think I like that transparency because, they maybe opened the door for me because they probably felt bad. They're like, okay, this young little 25-year-old girl is like asking for a meeting. Let's see what she has. When maybe they would have maybe said no to like an older guy or something.
Yeah.
So I think because I was a young girl, maybe they saw me as like their daughter or like a cut. You know what I mean? Like if my wife were to be in sales, like I just feel like all of a sudden I had like better treatment when it came to that. They just felt like nicer. So they're like, even if she sucks at sales or even if she doesn't have a good service, we'll still open the door for her. Right.
Yeah.
So I would get in the meetings, but then I had to deliver in that meeting. I had to know what I was selling. I needed to bring in my engineering expertise, bring in the field expertise. I would always get questioned technically. And the second that they would start asking questions and realize that I actually worked in the field as a field engineer for 5 years, you could tell that they were like, oh, she's the real deal. Okay, we were just being nice. Okay, buy us a coffee. You know, we're going to try to be nice to her. It was just more like guys just trying to be nicer to a female. Like, okay, well, you know, give her a cookie. But I think you really have to deliver on that hour. And then they would buy from me. So it was like, you do have to, you still need to, you may be lucky because you're a female in oil and gas and you get in just because you get in.
But you still got to know.
You need to know your stuff and you need to deliver. Because really, at the end of the day, that's where that meeting's going to continue or not. Then they'll just never see you again. So you really have to deliver within that hour.
And I think like you mentioned, once you do get that yes and you deliver like a good service to one person, that can quickly snowball into referrals, relationships, word of mouth. And that's where you can really scale. Yeah.
And honestly, in this industry, everybody knows each other. So I would say your reputation is super important. So I think before maybe some people would say yes to a meeting, maybe they would ask other people and they're like, oh yeah, she's great. Like I've had a sales call with her. She knows her stuff, you know? So I think also that reputation that you're building with every interaction that you have is super important because they're going to judge you based on that with what their other friends are saying.
And then storytelling, content, podcasts, like you need to
put
yourself out there because then people already have that one. They already know all about Massiel before you even reach out.
I'm glad you said that because I totally forgot to say that. So yes, it helped that obviously I was a female in oil and gas trying to sell something, but because of my personal brand that I had already built since the field, a lot of CEOs and executives that I would reach out to on LinkedIn to get a meeting, they already were either following me or we were already connected somehow through just our network. And then second, they had already listened to the podcast or they had already seen a video or something. So when I would go meet with them, they're like, I feel like I already know you. I see you online every day. So I just felt like even though they didn't know me, they kind of already knew me. So they felt very familiar with having me come to their office, you know? So I think that definitely helped me open a lot of doors was my personal brand.
And I think we've seen that a lot with Midnight, the amount of prospects we get on a call and
they're like, we know Bella and Rory.
We've seen you guys all over LinkedIn and it makes things just so much easier. Like we're just having a conversation with a friend who eventually is going to become a customer. And then we do a good job for that one customer. More and more customers come and like you said, reputation is huge. But you mentioned podcasts. Obviously it's been 6 years now of Flipping the Barrel. Almost 200 episodes?
Over 200 episodes.
Over 200 episodes. Wow.
I've lost track, but way over 200, I think.
I want to dig deep into the topic of podcasting and let's hear about the evolution of Flipping the Barrel and like how a podcast can evolve from the start to what Flipping the Barrel has turned into a community and a whole new beast that is today. But take me through the journey of like starting Flipping the Barrel 6 years ago to where you are today.
Yeah, so we started Flipping the Barrel in 2019 and the hope was to interview C-suite executives. Like that was always our goal. We obviously started small, interviewing friends and family and really whoever can come on the podcast because when we would reach out to C-suite executives, they would shut us down right away. Because in 2019, people weren't familiar with podcasts and executives were not used to going on podcasts. It was kind of looked down upon. And so really when we got our first CEO on 3 months later, it kind of opened up this gate of CEOs to come on because they're like, well, if he went on and he still has a job, so I think it's okay for us to do it. And so kind of that became our brand in terms of we interview presidents, VP, C-suite executives. That's what we do at Flipping the Barrel. I would say 3 years into the podcast of just interviewing people, we decided, hey, we've built up a community. Like people listen to this. People are recognizing us on the street or within events. So what if we brought all of these people together at an event? And so we decided to get into events. And then again, everything was like a trial and error and testing. And we realized that there was a big community in Houston that wanted to get together with like-minded people. And so that turned into events. And then it turned into more of like an online community through Instagram and people tagging us and kind of becoming the voice for, the younger generation in oil and gas, plus, women in energy. And so, it's turned into a community /event/merch. And it's really cool how you can start a podcast and it will turn into a million other things,
Yeah, like a podcast is just the seed,
just
and
the start.
that can birth into, like we spoke about it just on the last episode. Like Digital Wildcat has now evolved into Collide, which is an AI company. So, Not Your Story has evolved into a new service for Midnight selling podcasts. So there's plenty of opportunities out there for companies to tap into it. So let's talk about, I'm an oil and gas company. I'm marketing, but doing what everyone else is doing. Why should I start a podcast?
Well, I think podcast, there's a gold rush right now for podcasting. It's such a great way to put your brand out there, to control the narrative, to have potential customers or prospects on, your own employees.
Yeah.
So it's internal and external when it comes to, all of that, plus recruiting. And you kind of had mentioned it. If your company has a podcast and I'm applying as a, Gen Z, like that's a green flag for me right away. They're like, oh, they're into content. This is cool. And I also think like with the podcast, you can be flexible on what you want to do. One podcast episode could be like on your technology and deep dive into it, break it down for people, make it educational. Then the next one could be nothing about your technology. It could be about like what it's like working here, interview one of your interns, interview your president, your CEO. What is the vision of the company? I mean, there's just so much opportunity in my opinion. And you had mentioned it too. Like you could be a guest on somebody's podcast. Like that's great. But owning your own podcast, your own IP, you control everything. Like why not? Like I really think companies should 100% get into podcasting.
And then, like we said, over time, that consistency, once you've done a season, 2 seasons, all of a sudden you have this like whole network and community.
Yeah.
And
they're big lead generations for you as a company. You can pitch, you don't have to even be talking about your products, but you can add an ad in the middle of it, like pitching your products or, pitch like come work here. Like there's just so many avenues once you get eyeballs and attention to the podcast, if you're giving value to people.
Yeah.
And like it's such a good selling tool as well without being salesy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's another way for people to discover you today. Like people might find you on a website. They might find you on LinkedIn. But
YouTube.
A lot of the time in these places, you're only experiencing like a quick bite-sized piece, and then you're quickly scrolling through a feed and onto the next thing. But if you're sitting there listening to like an hour-long episode of Massiel, Rory talking, and you listen to a few of those episodes over time, like the flywheel of trust that you can get from that one like long form piece of content rather than like a short bite-sized LinkedIn post or a reel, like the amount of depth that you can get just from that long form and then breaking it down into short, like the net that you can cast is so much wider than a traditional way that someone would market, just posting content on LinkedIn or website or a blog.
I feel like it's just a deeper connection with whoever is doing the podcast, and then I'm open to buying everything you're offering. Because if I think about it, I get sold on podcasts all the time. Like one of my favorite podcasts, and I've been listening to them since they started, like episode 1. It's called The Skinny Confidential, him and her show.
Yeah.
And they gave me like I would say like they gave me an idea when I first saw them that I wanted to do something similar. And then it just so happened that Jamie and I met and everything evolved, and it kind of, maybe I spoke it into existence, but I definitely was very into podcasting, specifically with this show. And they have industry experts in terms of like health and wellness, entrepreneurs, but it's really around like health and wellness, most of the stuff.
Yeah.
And every time they put their ads up on like their supplement or whatever it is that she's like selling, I'll go buy it because
you trust the host.
I trust her, and all of her stuff is just so cool. And I feel like they give so much free value on like your benefit and like how you could sleep better. Oh, here's she has like a really cool neck warmer, like that smells like flowers or whatever. But just all of the stuff that she's shared over the years, I always go out and buy. And I'm like, okay, I'm one of those people that gets sold on it. But the more and more I talk to other people that listen to podcasts, they're like, oh, I bought it too. You know, so I do believe in podcasting because I am a client to podcasting, you know.
You've seen personally what it's done for you as well with Flipping the Barrel.
It's been crazy successful and huge for us. So yeah.
And what about Massiel Diez starting a Spanish podcast, which is crazy because there's not a single podcast out there that has given a voice to this whole sector of, you know, Latin America is huge. There's millions and millions of people, but they've never been given a voice to tell their story, which I think is super powerful. So I don't think we've spoken about this before, but what was that initial idea? Why you wanted to start this podcast?
Yeah,
and tell us about it.
So interestingly enough, over the years, I always had random people tell me like, hey, like we should have a Flipping the Barrel episode in Spanish, or you should put Spanish subtitles. Like, because I realized there's a lot of the people who were following Flipping the Barrel obviously were Hispanic or related to me somewhere because I'm Colombian or because I do speak Spanish. Yeah. And so the industry as a whole, to your point, is huge in Latin America. All the companies that we probably do work for at Midnight have some sort of branch in Latin America, whether it's Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, etc., Brazil. And so Jamie and I were thinking, and it's like, why not do a Spanish podcast? So when we got another request in, it was these two girls that were saying like, hey, like you guys should do a Spanish podcast, and we would be the hosts, like we would volunteer for it. And so it just felt like the perfect opportunity. We had two girls who were eager to get rolling. And again, I think if I look back at the Skinny Confidential, which is my favorite podcast, they are owned by Dear Media, which is one of the husband, like they are a couple on the podcast. He owns Dear Media, and they have a bunch of podcasts, a network of podcasts. And so I think like the idea that Jimmy and I had was, we can't just be Flipping the Barrel. If we eventually want to remove ourselves from the business at one point, like we are the business. So the best way for us to expand is if we have other podcasts who are now generating their own views and their own platforms and their own brand. And so we have Más Allá del Barril, and then we have Energy If You Know, You Know, which we're trying to get off the ground, but we need help. We need sponsors. And so, I think in the big picture, we wanted different shows under Flipping the Barrel. We're 3 right now.
Because like you said, Latin America is a huge industry, but they'd never been given a voice. And
like I don't know of any podcast that is about oil and gas in Spanish. Maybe there is. I just don't know of one.
Or Gen Z in oil and gas.
I don't know any. Yeah.
And I think it's super powerful. Like just seeing the birth of Massiel Diez, like within the first 10 episodes, it exploded. Like the amount of eyeballs, I think the first episode was with
8,000. Felipe Bayon, the ex-CEO of Ecopetrol.
And I think that just goes to show you the power of like giving people a voice that haven't been given it before. And for a lot of these companies within energy, there's a lot of like aging executives who have only really ever like told their story like in war rooms. Like nothing. This was before content was really out there. So a lot of the industry knowledge is like wrapped up in these old executives who haven't been out there telling the story. So I think there's a huge gap and opportunity for companies to get out there and get these older executives on podcasts, sharing their knowledge for that wealth transfer that's going to have to happen within the industry.
Also, when I was at my last company, I did an internal podcast and I interviewed all the executives of that division. And that was just internally used only. We never put it, out on YouTube or on Apple, etc. Which honestly they should have, because why not? We just kept it internal, and it was huge for culture building. Because again, all of these executives that 20,000 people are working for, we don't know anything about them. We don't know how many kids they have. We don't know what their favorite chocolate is. Like we don't know anything about these people. And I really always go back to, people want to work for people that they like or that they look up to. So with that podcast, even though it was just internal, it did super well. And I would always get a ton of messages of people saying like, thank you for doing this. This is so cool. Like nobody else is doing this within the company. So I tell people, you could do an internal podcast and make it epic for your own employees. Marketing is not just external. You should market to your employees. And so I wish they continued it, because it was so great. And so if you're a company that's thinking about doing a podcast, don't just think about external. External is great, but you can also repurpose it for your own employees and interview your employees.
Yeah, we've seen that with our own podcast as well. Like
Yeah.
we've marketed our own team, and we've got like there's so many crazy stories that we've been able to get out of the team and just show all the amazing work they're doing. That's a lot of the time behind the scenes.
Yes.
So brands are built from the inside out as well. So building culture building as well as externally, like prospecting and just discovering new customers. There's so many benefits to starting a podcast. I think we could talk here until the sun goes down.
I know. So if you want to start a podcast, reach out to Rory on LinkedIn, and we can help you out.
Yeah, I want to finish off talking a little bit about, obviously we've talked about your work ethic. You've had a crazy 13-year career at SLB. You've achieved a huge amount. You're very motivated to be the best in like everything you do, but where has that come from? Like, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and who do you take inspiration from?
Oh my gosh, that was a tough question. It's been an evolution, I would say, but I think this last year, it's been more of I think it's the first time I actually like worked on myself, you know, because I think a lot of us just go through life and may read a book or whatever, but I really felt like I wanted to work on myself, because I think we all have things we need to work on.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was different books that really helped me out a lot. One was How to Heal Your Life from Louise Hay. That's like just like a basic, like everybody should read this book. And it's more about like learning about yourself and how you act towards things. And really all of the books that I'll name all have the same thing. It's like tied to mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What you think you become,
Yeah,
literally.
So true.
What you visualize. I don't think I had ever realized that the power of that until last year, where I was like, wow, what I'm speaking, that I'm saying I'm going to do and I do, like, work out for me. When I'm positive and I say like things are always going to work out for me, things work out for me. I'm a lucky person. Like, you know, all of those things that sometimes I feel like sound crazy or woo woo.
Yeah.
I believe in it because I've seen it. Like, I've seen it in my life. And just whenever I started to really do that inner work and read books and listen to podcasts and be positive and write down my goals, it's crazy to me. Every time I write down the goals and I kind of review them at the end of the year, and you look back at your January 1st, I'm like, wow, I've accomplished everything. But I think it all starts on, you got to write it down. You got to visualize it. You got to think about it. But you also have to act. Like, there's also that hustle that needs to go in there to get through things. So there's How to Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. The Psychology of Money, I really liked. Yeah. Think and Grow Rich. Everybody needs to read this book.
Great.
As a Man Thinketh is a very difficult book to read. It's very old.
I think I've.
It's a classic. Like, it's just really good.
Is that also Napoleon Hill?
No, I forgot his name. Just an old.
I've heard of
old
it.
one. The Slight Edge. We could do a whole podcast on The Slight Edge.
What's that?
It's so good. It's all about how everything you do every single day compounds, whether in a positive or in a negative way.
Yeah. Momentum. Momentum.
Yes. And it's just like all these little things that people always think like you need to be doing big things every day to really make an impact. No, it's the little things. What you chose to drink that day, whether you chose to wake up early or not, if you chose to go to the gym or not, if you chose to work towards your business or not. Yeah. Like, it's all these little things that we just take for granted. But when you look at it in a scale of 5 years, 10 years, 1 year, they add up. And that brings you towards success or not success. So it adds to where you want to go, or it takes away from where you want to go. So the book is just like a super good way for you to like realize where you're going. And it's so good.
Yeah, I think people consume a lot of junk content with social media, but if you're consuming, you know, you are what you eat, and it's the same with like you are what you consume when it comes to content. Like, if you're watching visualization essays, or like for me, listening to podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts out there is called Founders.
I love Founders podcast.
Like hearing history's greatest entrepreneurs and like how they've lived their life.
I love that podcast.
You can think and act like them, get inside their mind and think larger than life. Because like you said.
And I think what I love about that podcast too is it shows you that it's not easy. None of these founders had it easy. Like, there's so many trials and tribulations and challenges, and like they've overcame so many things. And then they get successful. Like it's not overnight success. It's literally failure after failure after failure to all of a sudden you get successful. So I think when I listen to that podcast, it just shows me like, okay, you're good. Like keep going, you know?
Yeah, like some of these people, like they only started at 40.
Yes. And sometimes we feel like,
you feel like you're behind.
We're mid-30s, we're behind, you know? And then, then you realize like it's never too late to start and there's still so much ahead. And I also think like onto your point on social media and what you consume, I hear a lot of people say, oh, you know, but I'm scrolling and I get depressed looking at this or that, or, you know, like just saying that the content is bad.
Yeah.
You can curate your own feed.
Yeah, it's very true.
Like if you look at my Instagram, it's like happy, positive mindset, good tips. It's really like you have to curate whatever you're putting into your social media, whatever you're following, like just don't follow those things. Like curate your social media so that it's positive and that you're inspired when you're on it, you know?
So what's next for Massiel? What's next for Flipping the Barrel? What's next for Midnight?
Oh my gosh. I remember when you asked me that last time and I wanted to be like, I'm quitting my job, but I didn't.
You couldn't say it.
I couldn't say it. I think for me right now, like what's next for me is really just continuing to help build Midnight. And like, I'm just so excited. I feel like it's the tip of the iceberg. We have so much growth to go.
Yeah.
Such a wonderful team.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. I feel like we're just getting started. There's just so much excitement around Midnight.
Yeah, there's a huge feeling of momentum around at the moment. I think within my 2.5 years being here, I don't think there's ever been a moment where we've been growing as fast, which is super exciting, but obviously not easy. But
it's not easy. Yeah, the growing pains. But yeah, no, I'm just like super excited to keep doing that. I find so much joy in doing that and working with customers, working with the team. Like, again, I feel like there's purpose in what I'm doing. So I'm really excited about that. In terms of like personal life, I guess, no more children for me in the near time. And I guess just me, like what I'm really trying to work on right now is just be more present as a spouse, as a parent, as a daughter. And I think that's something when you are a 24/7 hustler, like I don't live in the now. I'm always like 3 steps ahead, 3 steps behind, like, you know, thinking about the past, thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And so I forgot to mention the book, but The Power of Now, I'm reading it right now.
Yeah.
And I really want to work on that for the next year, where it's just like, just enjoying where I am right now and stop trying to chase the next thing and just like be grateful for where I am and like enjoy that my daughter's 4 years old and enjoy like that I'm 35 years old right now. You know, like I feel like a lot of the stuff that I read or, you know, we go through life just that next,
always thinking of the next,
thinking about the next thing. And then we were like 65. I'm like, man, like our best years like just flew us by. So I always try to remind myself like, this is the best, like one of the best years. Like when else are you going to be 35? You know, like these are the good old years. And that's what I want to really like bottle in and focus on a personal level.
Enjoy the climb.
Yeah. And for Flipping the Barrel, we're just going to continue to do what we're doing, continue to have amazing executives on, continue to spread the word. And our events are every single year. We've got our Representation Matters event coming up October 24th. And of course, we'll do our Pursuing Greatness, which we do every first, quarter of the year. And we did a golf tournament, which I thought was cool. We'll probably for sure do another golf tournament. So we're just continuing the momentum and just, again, at the end of the day, just finding joy in what we do and not really pushing to go anywhere specific. It's just like really enjoying what we do at Flipping the Barrel.
It's awesome. And more podcasts to come.
Yes. More podcasts to come. That's the goal.
So where can people find more about Massiel, Flipping the Barrel, Midnight?
Okay, let me plug myself. So Massiel Diez on LinkedIn, Macefit Life on Instagram, and Macefit Life on YouTube, or Massiel Diez on YouTube. Obviously, midnightmarketing.com. You can book in a meeting with me to talk about your marketing needs. If you need to talk about podcasting, you can reach out to me. I'll forward it to Rory, or you can go straight to Rory Nolan on LinkedIn. And Flipping the Barrel, we have Flipping the Barrel on LinkedIn, flippingthebarrel.com, Flipping the Barrel on Instagram. So you can't say that you can't find us. It's pretty simple. Just Google it.
Well, it's great to have you back. And it's great to have you on the Midnight team and just soak in and learn from all the experience you have. So I'm very grateful to have you on the team, back on the
Thank
podcast.
you. It's full circle for us
I
because you
know,
did
I know.
flip in the barrel.
It'll be great to see where everything that changes the next time we get on a podcast again.
Yes,
so I'm excited
next
for the
year.
next one.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Rory.